Okay, now I'm going to go through all the Fantastic Four First Steps trivia. This is in connection to my full review of the film on my other channel. So there's a lot of these bits of trivia. I'm not going to read all of them. I'm just going to go through them and read, I guess the most interesting ones. I kind of glanced through this already, and a lot of them just seem to be more of other actors who were cast for the roles, and they're mostly that. There's a lot of people they considered for, I guess, mostly it seems like everybody except Sue Storm. Vanessa Kirby seems to be their only choice, I think. First one is the Herbie robot was portrayed through a combination of a wooden puppet, a remote-controlled animatronic, the functioning head and arms, and computer-generated imagery. He looked pretty awesome, I think. The film takes place within the Marvel Cinematic Universe on Earth 828. The number designation comes from Fantastic Four co-creators Jack Kirby's birthday, August 28. Really nice. 4 actors from the unreleased The Fantastic Four film in 1994 have cameos. You can get that film out there. It's available. You have to bootleg it, though, from the Pirate Bay. Alex Hyde White, who plays Reed Richards. Jay Underwood, who plays Johnny Storm. Rebecca Staub, who plays Susan Storm. And Michael Bailey Smith, who plays Ben Grimm. Hyde White and Staub provide voiceovers as newscasters, while Underwood and Bailey Smith portray construction workers look up at the Human Torch in the opening montage, with Underwood saluting his 2025 counterpart. Wow, that's cool. All 4 of them also make a brief appearance, standing together in period outfits, saying, "Thank you, Fantastic Four," later during the same montage. That is so cool. What if they had, you know what they should do is have every cast before them play like the same thing. "Thank you, Fantastic Four," the same group, but of each group from every movie. That'd be cool. From the 2004-5 one, the 1994 one, and then basically give like a recognition, whatever, to all the past actors who also held the role. Matt Shockman shot the film with as many practical effects as possible, using 2001: A Space Odyssey as an influence. Yep, a lot of the shots are great. I didn't even really question the CG much at all. A lot of it looked really cool. I think Galactus was a real suit, apparently. The giant monster the Fantastic Four fight during the opening montage at the beginning of the movie is a nod to the cover of Fantastic Four #1. That is so cool. That's really awesome they did that. This one's pretty interesting. Pedro Pascal revealed he worked on a transatlantic accent for the role but had to drop it. "They had to keep on pulling me back from a very mid-Atlantic, early 60s kind of talk. They had a dialect coach that was sort of gonna help us into that kind of dialect, and I took it so well, they were like, talk more like yourself." But since he was so immersed in the role, Pascal struggled to shake it off. I had a hard time doing that because I was so into the era, which for me was something to step into, so that it's different than what we've seen before. I think that what we've created is something that we haven't seen. I think the accent was fine. I didn't have an issue with that, I guess. Or notice it even. Pedro Pascal dropped out of Weapons to work on this movie. That's funny. This is the first live-action appearance of Herbie. He appeared in Fantastic Four 2005, but his scenes were cut. I've never heard of that, nor ever saw the deleted scenes. Huh, I didn't even know that was a thing. Julia Garner studied the comics and researched surfing to aid her performance as the Silver Surfer. That's so cool. She was a little vocal about the fact that this Silver Surfer is a female one and that they didn't go with Norrin Rad. Same with the Aman Vellani, I believe her name is, who plays Miss Marvel. She is super into the comics and apparently either influenced or talked to Kevin Feige, who kept some of the things from the comics. But that's really cool when the actor goes beyond just being an actor to like actually liking the stuff they're doing or being a fan of it. This one's weird, I guess. Pedro Pascal studied an octopus to get an idea of how to convincingly display Mr. Fantastic's elastic limbs. I guess that's funny, but that's cool, I guess. The teaser trailer featured one shot of John Malkovich playing an, at the time, unidentified role. It was immediately speculated that he might be playing Mole Man, Nathaniel Richards, or Red Ghost. The last character turned out to be correct. But shortly before the film was released, director Matt Shakman announced that Malkovich's part had been cut for time. It was less than 2 hours. They could have just made the intro a little longer and included him there, I think. That would have not been so fine. The Red Ghost is still mentioned during the opening montage, and one of his 3 super apes is briefly seen being defeated by Mr. Fantastic. In the comics, the Red Ghost and super apes gained their special abilities with the same cosmic rays that gave the Fantastic Four their powers and were part of the Soviet Union, as since Marvel's Silver Age took place during the Cold War. Several stories from early issues of various series, including Fantastic Four, focus on fighting the Soviets and communism, with Iron Man being the prime example. Yeah, see, it's pretty cool. Red Ghost recreates the cosmic rays incident that gave the Fantastic Four their powers, and he gets them as well as the apes somehow. I don't know. They should, see, I think they cut it because it would have been compared too much to Superman that's out, and Superman has all of the silly stuff in it with the kaiju and little baby Joey and the Proton River. Super hardcore nerdy stuff. I don't know how that would have looked in this Fantastic Four film. Maybe besides it being the same, they didn't want it to kind of like, I guess, look the same or have the same depth of the comic nerdiness that Superman has. This one's pretty cool. In the comics, Franklin Richards was originally an Omega level mutant, so powerful that in the 1990s he famously created an entire universe called Heroes Reborn for those killed fighting Onslaught, the combination of Professor X and Magneto. Wow. You think they're going to do that in the next ones? I don't think so. That's kind of a lot. During the X-Men's Krakoa arc, this was later retconned in March 2024 with the release of issue 26 from the 2023 Fantastic Four comic book series, to where he is a human mutate like his family, which refers to super-powered humans that are non-mutants as unlike mutants, their powers are from an actual mutation instead of being born with them and possessing the X gene. That's so crazy. That's why I think at the end, when Franklin resurrects Sue, his powers are so strong that they work like automatically. Maybe that's what it is. They work like he has subconscious control or whatever, like because the baby, obviously he didn't do that on purpose. He just like kind of mindlessly looks around, like he's subconsciously doing it. Paul Mescal turned down the chance to play Johnny Storm, the Human Torch. The role went to his Gladiator 2 co-star Joseph Quinn. It's funny. This one's funny. Ralph Ineson spent time ruminating at the top of tall buildings to prepare for the role of Galactus. Could you imagine you're out walking and you look up and you're like, is that Ralph Ineson? I wonder if he wore the costume. No, probably not. But that'd be hilarious. He's able to actually wear the costume, goes out there and stands somewhere and this is kind of like method acting. You could technically rent out like a Skyview apartment or something in the tallest available apartment, whatever, something, or an Airbnb for like a week or two. And when you get off work, go home, read your script, go up to the corner outside of your balcony and just read your script and practice. This one's funny. Pedro Pascal, before being cast as Reed Richards, auditioned to play a lawyer in Daredevil, but turned down the role in favor of Narcos. Wow, I never knew he was even in Narcos. He's good in that one. That was really cool. I feel like maybe that's what happened with Pedro Pascal, is he went too mainstream. He is good at being a side character, or you know what I mean? Like he fits there more, and I think that's where people kind of liked him. But now that he's so mainstream and like he's in so many films, I feel like maybe it's oversaturated and it's so much Pedro Pascal. That's probably really what it is. This one's cool. Joss Whedon and Peyton Reed were considered to direct the film. 2 directors. That's weird. Originally, John Watts was supposed to direct this film, but he bowed out due to wanting to take a break from making superhero films. Jeez. I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's just Marvel burning him out and too much control, maybe. And his NDA agreement definitely, or the NDA that he signed, is making it so that he can't talk about I don't really want to work on these movies because the heads above me are just too much. And then it'll come out. Like that guy recently who came out against them saying that Kevin Feige and company don't really care about anything about this movies having to do with the comics. They want to do their own thing no matter what. This is interesting. For the role of Sue Storm, they considered Amanda Seyfried, Bryce Dallas Howard, Margot Robbie, Emma Stone, Megan Fox, Brooklyn Decker, and Kristen Bell. Bryce Dallas Howard, Margot Robbie, Emma Stone, and Megan Fox. Though, wow. Those, I don't think they... Picture them as Sue Storm. I guess Vanessa Kirby, out of all of them, she's not a bad choice, I guess. I don't even know who I would consider to even play her. An unknown actor, I guess. They should have done, see, again, that would have been cool. 4 unknown actors. And the Thing could be anybody because, you know, you only see him for a little bit. And this one has to do with the casting for Sue Storm. Jamie King, I guess, and Sunny Mabry expressed interest in playing Sue Storm, the Invisible Woman. Both Margot Robbie and Emma Stone were offered the role, but turned it down. They were actually offered the role. Their agents went up to them and said, hey, Marvel's casting people said they would like to offer you the role of Sue Storm. Emma Stone. I think they would. That's what I'm saying. It would be so distracting. That's the reason why you cast an unknown actor where the character doesn't distract from the actor doesn't distract from the character. Like Robert Downey Jr. was good for the role, but it made it Robert Downey Jr.-y, right? If it was just an unknown person, it would have been that you would have labeled him as Tony Stark. You know, I mean, yes, Robert Downey Jr. fits the role perfectly. Perfect casting for sure. But it's just these are weird choices for sure. They turned it down. They literally said no, either knowing that they don't fit the role, or they don't know the character, or they read the script and then said no. I don't know. And they actually said no though. I wonder if somebody said, hey, no, this would not be good. You're going to get hated for the role. Do you think they talk about that? I bet you that comes up in their meetings. So like, people are going to hate you for this role. They offered the role to them, meaning they saw that what the character would look like with them. Do you think they use AI and they make a composite of Emma Stone as Sue Storm, and it makes it, and then with the costume and without? Or do they have them? Do they have all of these actors come in and do a costume test, and like a real casting thing, and then have them read a scene and record all of the auditions, and then watch them again and see who they like the best? And then they said, well, Margot Robbie was good, Emma Stone was good. Okay, extend the offer. Turned it down, and then Vanessa Kirby's was the best, and she said, okay, out of all of them. That's so weird. I don't know how that works. Another casting thing, it says here, Milo Ventimiglia, Adam Driver, Jake Gyllenhaal, Matt Smith, not familiar with him, Dev Patel, Penn Badgley, not familiar with him either, really, and Zachary Levi were all considered for the role of Reed Richards. Zachary Levi, Shazam, okay? Jake Gyllenhaal, Mysterio, like what? Adam Driver, Kylo Ren, and then Milo Ventimiglia, I don't know. I'm not familiar with them. They probably would have been the best choice, a less known person. Adam Driver, Jake Gyllenhaal, those are bad choices. I'm glad. Wow. See, that's the thing too. Who wants to do the role? They probably had no choice but Pedro Pascal. They're like, he's the only one who wants to do it. No one wants to do it. Anya Taylor-Joy was rumored for the role of the Silver Surfer. She could, I don't know. She's so standoutable. Like, you could spot her too easily. I don't know. I think the current casting was fine. There's another casting. Grant Anstein campaigned for the role of Johnny Storm, the Human Torch. Dylan Sprouse also wanted to play the role. The Sweet Life of Zack and Cody, Dylan Sprouse. I don't know. Wow. When you hear who else was offered the role, you really start to be thankful for the current casting. You start to kind of go, wow, Pedro Pascal was the best choice. Here's a random one. There's a bunch of these other ones in here of casting. This one is Chris Rock campaign for J.J. Abrams to direct the film. What in the world? That's so random. What? Chris Rock was like, hey, I think my buddy J.J. Abrams, who does those solar shots a lot, should direct this film. What? That is really random. That's nice, but very random. Joseph Quinn actually auditioned to play Spider-Man in Spider-Man Homecoming. Would he have fit that role? Maybe. Tom Holland is a little mixed. He's good, I guess. Some people are a little mixed on him. Andrew Garfield was kind of cool. His version was kind of like that punkier Spider-Man with the quips and everything. Okay, now we'll get into some spoiler trivia. Galactus states he wants Sue and Reed's child to succeed him as a destroyer of worlds in the Earth X Limited series, which served as the basis for the story in Eternals. Galactus has been destroyed, and Franklin then takes his form, name, and role. While in the earlier MCU film, it was the Eternals who saved Earth from the emergence death seal. In Earth X, it was Franklin as Galactus who did so. Wow. See, I thought they were going to do that in this movie. There were rumors that Galactus was going to be Franklin Richards from the future or something, or some variation of that. They didn't do anything like that. That's why I was thinking that would have been really cool to have Galactus actually be successful in taking Franklin, and Galactus does end up destroying Earth, and they have to go to the Earth 616 or wherever the Thunderbolts are at. But they didn't do any of that stuff. The Russo brothers directed the post-credit scene with Robert Downey Jr. playing Dr. Doom. You don't even see his face, so who cares? Oh, it's cool RDJ was there. Oh, they shoehorned in a scene to set up 2 movies. Okay. We met Thanos in Guardians of the Galaxy 1, and then we get a hint at this guy and who he is. Then we're hinted again at the end of Avengers, and then he comes to Earth, does his thing in Infinity War. And he was set up over the course of like a bunch of movies, right? So why couldn't they have had Dr. Doom in this movie? Or actually at the end, they do a long scene where Dr. Doom shows up, he tricks all of them, and he takes Franklin and he leaves. That'd be really cool. And it would have been like, oh, now we know who Dr. Doom is, and all that. It seems like they have to really squeeze in his story and kind of gloss over a lot of stuff quickly just so they can get to this multiverse reset thing and conclude all of this mess they've gotten themselves into with their movies. This one's funny. Johnny Storm never shuts his iconic catchphrase "Flame On" from the comics when he turned his entire body into flame. That's weird. But, I mean, he makes the thing say clobbering time, whatever. See here, this is the first Fantastic Four film that does not feature Dr. Doom as the main villain, though he has a brief cameo in the post-credits scene. It literally could have been a dummy. The hand moved, I guess. It could have just been a dummy. RDJ did not have to be there. It's just, come on. You don't see anything that hints at RDJ. That scene is so dumb. Sue walks away and then walks back, and Dr. Doom is there? How? Really? Really? Come on. It just makes no sense. You can hear that, you could hear that, or the sensors would have gone off, or Herbie would have been like, who are you? Or something, right? So, I don't understand that. That makes no sense. It's the next, and the thing is, they're never going to continue that scene. It's not going to be like, Avengers Doomsday, and the beginning is the continuation of that scene, and then you see Dr. Doom stand up and go, "Hi, Sue." You think they're going to do that? They never do that. So that's all the trivia. You can check out all of it if you want to. I just picked the most interesting ones and read those. Now I'm going to read some of the goofs and the issues for the movie, which some of them do contain spoilers. So the first one is about an hour into the film, just before Sue gives her rallying speech to the people. She leans down toward her baby. In the baby's point of view shot, there's a visible continuity error. Between two cuts, a noticeable shine appears on Vanessa Kirby's forehead. This suggests the scene was filmed at different times. Okay. Factual errors. Electricity is consumed at the same instant that it is generated. Asking the entire world to conserve electricity would be of no use unless there were enough batteries to store that much electrical energy. A near impossible task. Even if the futuristic premise allows for building such a scale of storage in mere days, it is not mentioned or acknowledged at any point. That is such a simple thing. All you have to do is just add a little bit of dialogue that sets up that. Superman does it a lot. They, in one sentence, will basically fill you in on the history of something. And again, just like the 28 years later film, they have issues with science, with gas being lighter when it's really heavier, and logical things that you could just send the script to some scientists and they could correct it for you. And this is, the thing is weird because I was saying the natural progression of things would lead you to now times. You know, you would naturally be able to make screens that get thinner and thinner and thinner and come up with digital stuff and go away from analog. It's just the natural progression of evolution. So I know it's fake, whatever, but for them to be stuck in the 50s, and the 50s becomes techie, and everything we have now is through the 50s aesthetic, I don't think that would be possible. But yes, some of this stuff would have taken like days though. But maybe I'm just overthinking this stuff. Sometimes like, why their goal for these movies should be for there to be none of this. None of these issues, just the trivia. That's it. They should have an after meeting after this movie's done, when it's all done, and then have a big meeting, and somebody should pull up this and go through all of these issues and have the writers there and be like, guys, you see this? You see this? And Kevin's like reading this. He's like revealing mistakes. There should be no mistakes. And Matt Shackman's there like, because all he had to do was search. He could run it through GROK or ChatGPT. There's no excuse for a bad script anymore. The next one is the birth of Franklin in zero gravity appeared unnaturally sterile, lacking any presence of body fluids, placenta, or typical birth discharge floating around. Well, that's just, they wanted to tone it down. But why would they have it out in the open? Wouldn't they have like a designated pregnancy area or something? Or have the baby in like an enclosed capsule or something? Revealing mistakes. Early in the movie, when Reed records cosmic sounds, the engraver starts on the inside edge of the disc by the label. Later, when Johnny listens to the disc, he starts on the outside edge, like a normal LP, but this would result in him hearing the sound played backwards. Come on. Didn't Matt Shackman say he likes or has an interest in making an old-timey movie? And he knows nothing about old-timey stuff? No, come on. That really shows you how young everybody is who worked on this movie. A movie like this, why couldn't they have gotten a bunch of people who were born in the 50s or whatever, who lived through the 50s, and bring them to the writer's room and have them on set, and they're all sitting in sofas with popcorn, and they ask them, and they go, hey, does this make sense? And they'll be like, no, dummy, put the needle in the middle, whatever. Like, that's what they need. They need time-related senior consultants, right? Next one is Franklin Richards goes from a newborn to a baby too quickly. That kind of growth takes 6 months to a year. While they did spend a month in space, the child appears to be between 3 and 6 months old on for his return to Earth and never changes despite a further year happening on screen. This is due to limitations on infant actors. Couldn't they have just AI'd the baby I don't understand that. Like, no one understands that movies and film are permanent. Why wouldn't you just take as long as it takes to make the film good? This movie, they're like, and you can't do it again. You can't, hey, we're pulling the movie, we're going to redo it. And then it comes back out, and it's like the Fantastic Four First Steps reissue, or whatever you would call it. And it's the same movie, and everything's fixed. It's the same stuff, but when Sue has Franklin, it's in a thing. It's fixed. And the machine gets rid of the placenta and everything. And there's, logical reasoning and stuff that explains everything. Too bad they can't do that. Anachronisms. When Johnny's telling Sue that he translated Silver Surfer's language, he goes to give her a high five. This movie takes place in 1965. And the high five wasn't even invented until the 1970s. Of course, in Earth 818, the high five may have originated earlier. Someone naturally went like this to someone else. It probably went like this. It probably went from this to this to this, and then to this, and then to this, or something. And then, So until 1965 or after, nobody had the thought or feeling of going, hey, like nobody, what about a fight? What if, like in boxing, someone was like, get away from me, and they push someone, right? But later they're like, hey, we could do something like a high five. They probably called it a high hand, and then it went to high five, and then it did high 10, and then high 20 and all that. Again, though, they need senior consultants from the time period to be sitting on the set, and they do that, and they go, wait, what is that? We didn't do that when we were young. There's no excuse. These movie studios have zero excuse for producing this stuff. Character error. Reed Richards performed CPR incorrectly. His compressions are too shallow and too high up on Sue's chest, and his rescue breaths are too frequent. Reed also only checks Sue's breathing and not her pulse before beginning. Well, that should be in the actor's school. They should be like, hey, what classes are you taking at the acting school? And they're like, oh, I'm taking CPR class. I'm taking all of these things. Shouldn't actors know how to do some things to be real anyways? Actors should know how to dive. Actors should know how to skydive. They should know how to run, how to walk, how to do CPR, how to do mouth-to-mouth resuscitation, kissing, right? Hugging correctly. Those should be like lessons, right? And they should all do it. They should have like, hey, you got your actor's license. Yes. Yeah, I went through everything. I know how to do CPR on camera, and acting, and it'll look good. It'll make it look real. The last one is when Sue Storm introduces her baby to the public. She says that her parents died in a car accident. Then she says that her dad was driving, and then she says that her dad was driving and he survived. Therefore, both parents didn't die in the car accident. What? That's I don't know what to say about that. That's a writing thing, and nobody noticed it. I bet you they don't even have an idea. I bet you Kevin Feige is going to put this movie up, and he's going to be watching it, and one day he's going to be like, wait, what? One day, he'll be ironing his clothes, and he's going to watch it, and then he'll notice that, and be like, wait, what? She said her dad died in the crash earlier, and now she's saying one of the parents survived. And he'll play it back and be like, she says that. And then he'll call the studio and call the writers and be like, guys, check that scene out right now. If that happens again, you're all out. I'm going to get Kathleen Kennedy back. And they're all like, no. All right, that's all the trivia and goofs for the Fantastic Four. And if you want to check out my full review, you can check that out on my other channel.